Hello.
Yeah, that's your name.
Squirrels got me.
Big Jim.
Yeah.
Really cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
That's good that you think that of it, because that's what deer hunting typically is cold and fun.
Yesterday morning, I'm glassing up on the pass, and I see these deer moving, and I'm like, ooh, there's some deer moving. All of a sudden, I just see this person just head down, just hauling ass, wearing shorts and a t-shirt with a pack on. And I'm like, is that Tard? My dad always talks about floating through the woods like the autumn breeze.
So Robert's
when you're
the
275 pounds, I don't know how you do that, but
the Freightliner. It's just like a creeper. You're just kind of up in the corner watching what's going on down there.
Yeah.
You know.
He's like,
he's up there slapping it, pissing all over everything.
is it warm yet?
How did you know the name of the actor?
I know.
How did you say his name?
Hervé Villechaize.
You know what pert near means.
If you know what pert near means and you live in America, you're a redneck too.
Welcome to the Log Talk Podcast, brought to you by Pert Near Outdoors. It's that time of year. It's that time of year where we all need to be thinking about, do we have everything we need to hit the woods? Chances are you don't, and if you think you do, you probably could use some more. So how about you go over to thehuntworks.com and check out all the incredible products these guys are carrying. This is a great family, local store. Dan and Steve Dunnigan, a couple hardworking sumbitches. They are now carrying archery equipment, everything from bows to arrows to broadheads, quivers, you name it. So on top of all the great tree stands and box blinds that they're carrying, they're now a full-on archery dealer, and really recommend that you check these guys out for your next big purchase. Head over to thehuntworks.com to see what they've got for sale, or if you're local in the Rochester area, head on over to their store in East Rochester on Dispatch Drive and check them out. They are on social media, The Huntworks, and also online, like I said. And if you purchase anything online, you can use promo code FEEDIN'Em to get 5% off, and that's FEED, FEEDIN, INUM, 5% off. Feed 'em.
Give me a test count.
Welcome to episode 210, where we're in a much better mood than we were 24 hours ago.
Well, you're more sober.
Way more sober.
I'm thinking this is 209B. I'll release it in because this is still the Rut vacation.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Vacation.
Breeding Radio.
All right, so we're back with you with episode 209B. And
I thought you were going to get dip.
I am in a minute.
Oh.
So if I'm more
dip,
chipper,
you dip,
that's
we
because it's not like midnight when we start this. So last night the boys got me to join in, and Billy had too much to drink. And
So there's allegedly you guys are said I was talking some smack about my wife.
you were.
We'll
And
have
I'm
to
gonna edit. I'm gonna cut that
No,
part.
no, you
Yes.
do not. No.
Keep it off.
My daughter-in-law, love
Stay
her.
organic
Not
right
here. Yeah.
I'll listen back to that part and make sure it's all right. She don't care. We talk like that to each other all the time. I think it depends
Billy,
on what I said.
you're not getting this.
It's
She
a
doesn't
test.
care. Women always
She doesn't care.
Oh yes, she does.
This is another test.
Another freaking test.
No, she's great.
She's
What
been
you
testing
No.
two say to each other all the time at home is
No, we
one
do.
thing.
It's like a show thing. We put on. We like joke with each other in front of other people. It makes other people really uncomfortable. Boy, that's totally normal.
not recorded for the whole world to hear, like posted out there online forever.
3 listeners.
Yeah.
3 followers.
Well, there's
Well,
us
I'll-
three.
I'll listen
I mean,
back to
other
it.
than us three.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
This is just.
All right. So we were just talking about Billy going to Florida.
Yeah, she's
after the
she's-
PA hunt,
Yeah. So
and I told Billy it's a test. She's like, you don't.
my
have to fly
wife
down
and her
with you, come
family
later.
booked a trip to Disney that starts Sunday morning after our PA deer camp, which Sunday morning we would
Is
get up
part
and,
of the deer
and
camp.
leave by 7
And the
a.m.
PA Deer Camp is a yearly thing that happens.
the same
like
weekend
clockwork, same
every
deal.
year.
Yep.
And she booked a flight because it's the only direct flight in the morning
At 5
for
a.m.
Southwest to Florida, 5 a.m. So what am I to do? I don't know yet. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna tell her the night before what I'm gonna do.
No.
Do you think that's a good idea?
No.
Vote here in the comments. Tell us what you think. Like, subscribe to the Pert Near Outdoors podcast.
No, it's a test.
It is. I know. I'm not.
And you're going to pass because I'm going
know.
to boot your ass out of camp Saturday night, and you're going to drive back and pack your stuff and be ready
Hear
to
me
go.
out. Let's say we've seen this happen before, right? A buck or multiple bucks get shot on Saturday evening. Saturday at some point, right?
And then it's a
fucking, we don't get out of the woods till middle of the night.
Right.
middle.
It's
right?
10 o'clock.
Like that video where you're holding the meat sacks.
Yeah, just
like that.
Clayton, do you want some meat?
And
yeah, and we were deep down in a holler with
we're
no
gonna be
cell
deep,
service.
That's what I'm saying. And then by the time you even make it back to the Airbnb to pack your shit to get out of there, who knows what time that could be?
I know.
Your flight could be leaving.
I know. That's the thing. I think AJ and I are going to fly down separate because Sarah's going to fly with her sister and their 3 kids and my mother and father-in-law. And perfect. AJ and I will show up when all the dirty work is done, and we'll just give them money.
See, he has an out because AJ will be with him, and he's also in the same boat.
Yeah, and AJ's almost always in the doghouse.
Yeah.
So it makes me look good.
Right.
Doesn't make you look good. It makes you look as bad as AJ.
Yeah, but it's
right.
If both the system, they're this.
I know.
They.
So what you got to do is you got to make it up for him.
We could have done this
there,
trip at any point, 12 months out of the year, and they booked it for that freaking week.
And this is also a safety factor, driving through the night.
Yeah.
It's not safe.
No.
And you know what?
The thing to do is to get up Saturday morning and head back, and we'll go hunting without you, and then you'll be back there in
one day or two
days.
day and a half.
All right.
That's another podcast.
I'm gonna do me. Okay. You see this?
You know damn well if he says this right now, you know damn well what's going to happen. He's going to shoot a buck on the first drive of the first day,
and I will be
he's gonna
gone
go to
at lunchtime.
See you guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to Chase Tail in Orlando. It's bikini season.
All right, so more to follow on that. We'll see what Billy decides to do.
Yeah,
but it is good that you got AJ with you.
It's always good to have AJ with me because I got to support him.
He's got to support you. And the girls got to understand it's not just you. It's Billy. Like if AJ was there and he said, "I'm not going to PA this year because we're going to Florida and I don't want to mess up the trip," that puts you in a bad spot.
Bad spot, which he would never do that.
So
AJ puts hunting before everything,
which is why he's always in the doghouse.
It's always in the doghouse.
But he's also got giant bucks on the wall.
Giant bucks.
Yeah, some big bucks.
You got to be committed to the game.
He only started hunting like 3 years ago, and he's got some monsters.
He's been decorating his doghouse.
Yes.
Well put, Jimmy.
Yeah.
All right, so we're back with you because
it's Saturday, the 2nd of November.
Yep. Day 3 of Jimmy DiAgostino's New York Rutcation.
Yeah.
And as everybody knows, we heard last night he connected on day 1 in the afternoon.
Made it look easy.
What a boss.
And then I was just in the so we
Billy was
sucked
in a funk.
some booze last night.
Sucked the booze.
And this morning I woke up just pounding headache. Sun doesn't come up till 7:45, and your alarm goes off at 4:30.
But we weren't congested though because of these new air.
These new air filters in here are mint.
Hey, I hit the snooze. I let you sleep a little longer.
You did, which is nice. But
it's good to get up and get yourself fully awake.
Yep. My body battery only got up to 15, which is not good out of 100. So I was running low all day today, and I had low T, I had low energy,
and a bad attitude.
I saw nothing.
Yeah.
I went up to that stand this morning and didn't see nothing.
Yeah, that happens.
And the cameras aren't going, and my mind's spinning like a.
Were you up top where you were this afternoon?
No.
Oh.
I was sitting right up Dad's opening day ladder stand.
Yeah, think back to the campfire when you're like, look at my message to everybody this year, just go hunt and have fun.
I said that, and that is an ignorant thing to say because when you get in the fire, it's hot and you want to survive and survival.
Not
up
just
here.
survive, you want to thrive. You want everybody's putting deer on the meat pole.
Freaking,
you can't even
mission.
find one.
Nope, I couldn't. That's what was making me mad. I was not even seeing deer, and I get mad up here when that happens. Because I'm away from home,
and what you want
and
to do?
I know I'm in trouble. We're going right back. We're doing the what does the Don call it when he does his big The Donald?
The weave.
The weave. I'm
It's
doing
a weave.
the weave right now. I'm
Right.
bringing
Like
it
Donald
back.
Trump, right? He's
Weave's
bringing it
getting
all
wide.
back.
I'm here,
Weave's getting wide.
and if I went home tomorrow without
Even
meat in the
seeing
back of my truck,
Or at least seeing a deer.
I would have had nothing. I would have walked in there and looked at that woman and said, I failed you, woman. But I didn't.
And she'd say, again?
Yeah. Surprise. Well, I guess last year they just freaking were everywhere I walked, they tipped over.
So, are we going to, you want to try and get Donnie on the phone? Don Lucas and Bluetooth him in?
We can.
You want to check with him to see if,
If you can talk real quick.
yeah.
Yeah, all right. I'll find
Maybe we can have does he like drag on with his stories like Jimbo does
Hey,
too?
Jimmy is a detailed storyteller, and I'm sick of you hammering on him. He's not
Jimmy
even here to
tells-
defend himself.
Jimmy
He did a
tells
great job.
wonderful stories.
He is, his level of detail is unsurpassed.
Yeah.
Well, other than I tend
He
to
paints
be
it quite the
He
picture.
starts from the beginning, from when he first gets him on camera. So you know the deer's entire history.
from the last 4 years
Yeah.
of the deer.
We need to know that, though. It sets the tone.
It's all part of the weave.
Right.
Yes.
It's all part of the weave.
Yep.
So Jim is checking to see if Donnie Lucas wants to get on. He shot. Is that the biggest buck of his bow career today?
That is his. It's not his biggest. No.
Okay, but
he's got two hanging at his camp that are. One is for sure bigger, but the other one's like close caliber. So it's top 3 buck for him all time,
Yeah.
and I think top 2 bow buck.
So he was here last night along with the guys from Huntworks, some hardworking sons of bitches.
Jesus, they're always working.
So, but they were here last night, and Don left because he was onto a big buck, and
he didn't like the
was
Dunningtons
hell-bent.
either. I could tell there was some tension
Okay,
there.
Donnie says he could talk. He wants to know how to do it. So if you want to call him, Billy, and
Yep.
link
You
him
want
in.
to take it, Billy, and Bluetooth him in?
Oh, it'd be my honor. I'm just kidding. There was no hard feelings between
No.
anybody. It was
No, so Don was very committed, and he went. He said, "I'm going to go back. I'm not," because he was going to spend the night and hunt here.
I don't. Do I have Don? I do have Don Lucas's phone.
So, you know, he was very committed, and he went back, and we found out. We got word this morning he whacked him. So, yeah, we'll hear that story.
Donnie's going to be super pumped because he's not. This isn't. He never gets to talk on a podcast, let alone he hasn't. It's been a few years
I think
since he
is
got
your
himself,
phone connected to the?
since he got himself a good buck with the
Your
bow.
phone's probably connected, Dad.
And he's fired up. He's like, yeah, I'm ready. So good.
Nice. Oh, I gotta go to setting. What do I got to do here? Sorry for the delay, folks.
Yes, great.
I'm gonna shut my Bluetooth off. Okay. All right. Now you should be able to connect. You got the Bluetooth turned on there?
Sure do.
All right.
There we go.
Here we go. We're gonna phone in Mr. Don Lucas. He. So I don't know if I don't know if all 3 of our listeners understand the connection between Don, but
So
Don.
he's probably. I was just texting him. He'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
All right. So Don.
Hey,
Tone, please record
wait.
your message.
I'm gonna
When
leave
you
him. I'm gonna
finish
leave him a
recording,
message.
You may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Turn up the Bluetooth a little bit.
Excuse me, sir. He's calling back.
Turn that up a little. The Bluetooth.
Hello? Housekeeping?
Put it on. Change that to
Hello?
Bluetooth.
Is this Don?
Donnie?
It sure is.
There he is. We got him. All right.
Can I fluff your pillow?
Donnie.
Billy's being himself.
What's up? Congrats, buddy.
You two, don't blow my story. We haven't gotten there yet.
So Donnie, we were just talking about how actually we everybody knows each other in the group quickly, just to fill the listeners in on who Don Lucas is, and that so Donnie's actually was a college roommate for one of my best friends that I grew up with since we were in middle school together, and coincidentally when I met the Harvey clan at Total Archery Challenge some years back, due to drinking some Busch Light and wearing a Buffalo Bills cap, the world just got that much smaller. So that's the short version of it.
Yeah, but then it's even shorter and tighter and creepier because Don lives very close to Jimmy,
Right.
and their kids go to daycare together.
Right.
And so Don and Jimmy have become like, they're like sister cousins.
We were all meant to be friends at some point.
We were.
So
yeah,
here we are.
Here we are.
And now we kill bucks together.
Yeah. Blood brothers.
Blood brothers.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
$4 in 10 days, man. It's not a bad record.
That is pretty good. I guess that this is the.
Can you get him some volume?
You need to be louder, sir.
Give Donnie some
Oh, I
volume.
need to
Let him
speak up?
speak.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, that's good. Just be yourself. Don't be nervous. This is going to get heard by a few,
Just like
few
4 or 5 people.
couple 2,000. Yeah, never
My
know.
wife said she's going to listen to it just for
That she
the
better.
humor factor. Yep.
Oh, all right. Just you need to have her swear that she won't talk to my wife about the stuff that we talked about my wife about. Okay,
That's fair.
that's
Yeah.
that's just dudes being dudes, you know.
Mhm.
Anyway,
You
so
got it.
so run us back. So you whacked a buck last week, or was that this past weekend?
No, that was last Sunday. Yep.
Last Sunday you
morning.
hit one and lost it.
Yep. And hit is giving me too much credit. I scratched him. I took a shot and knew it was low. We tracked him quite a bit. Gave him like 12 hours, tracked him, hoping maybe it was a one long liver hit, and we just didn't find blood to indicate that. I mean, we tracked him probably 400, almost 500 yards, not a single bed. He walked away, as if he wasn't hit at all. All we found was fur and, a handful of pinpricks of blood and a lot of tracks. So we chalked that one up to a loss. But yeah, that was last Sunday morning.
So then you came up to camp and fed him with us last night, and then you were
Yep.
like, I think I have to go home because you seen a big buck yesterday. And
Yeah. So in that whole story, I'm hunting this property, a farm by my house that I got permission to hunt last year, and I got in there with a bow quite a bit, and I didn't see much. I mean, I saw a handful of does, I saw a little bit of sign, but I thought, this property should be holding some slammers, and I'm not seeing them. So I left last season pretty disenchanted with that. And my very last sit, late muzzleloader, right at last light, I saw a couple nice bucks come out at the opposite end of the farm. So if the next year, lesson learned, when I get in here, I'm going to hunt that south end a little harder and scout the south end. So I did that with the bow, a couple early sits I got in there with the saddle, stayed mobile, stayed fluid, got in there and checked it out and found a lot of good sign. I saw a ton of deer. I had deer all over me every sit. So felt like I had it figured out and, stuck with it. And then Friday night, Jimmy D was coming to town from PA. You guys were down at the camp having a good time, had some deer on camera. And, I had the opportunity to come down there, but I said, man, my gut tells me that I got to give one more sit over at this place. And sure enough, I pull in Friday at about 1 o'clock and standing right in the middle of the field, the big alfalfa field, is this beautiful big buck, big 8-point buck standing there. And he kind of screws around, goes back into the thicket for a while. I go up, get my tree with the saddle. And I ended up seeing him, watching him really dogging some does for quite a while. About an hour and a half, he was chasing these does through some goldenrod, just screwing around, but I never got a shot. So I did. I got in the truck to come down and have a few beers, and I knew, I can't not go back, right? Don't leave deer to find deer.
We were begging you to
So
stay.
Good
So
advice.
you
Yeah, we tried hard to get him to stay.
We selfishly just wanted your company, and you could have got in some deer here, but you knew what you had to do.
And it's tough, you get an invite to hunt a piece of hollow ground with monster buck potential, but
Yeah.
there was part of me that
Two-year-old
was
killers
a little
up here.
bit, That's right. Those spikes aren't going to kill themselves.
That's right, Don.
So we, part of it too was a little bit of stubbornness. I knew, I wounded that one last week and wanted a chance at redemption. So came back in this morning and it was perfect. I didn't see anything until 8:20. I looked up right down the hedgerow. Here he comes, and the rest is a whole separate story. But we got him, and it was fun. I got to share it with Jimmy D and Jim Harvey, and my dad was there, so that was a lot of fun.
So it was a close shot, right? So are you in a ladder stand or is it a portable? Because you were like,
So I'm up in a saddle.
Okay. Saddle.
Don
saddle.
has really upped his
saddle hunting.
his equipment game in the last few years here. He's really honing
Yep.
it. He's got new
First
first
hunt.
light camo. He's got saddle set up. He's the man right now.
First year out of the saddle, that was pretty sweet. It was perfect. I mean, he came right to the spot. When I picked this tree, I've hunted it a few times now, and when I picked it, exactly what happened today was the setup I was prepared for and expected.
Sweet.
He came into a little scrape and a licking branch there, probably 15 yards from the base of my stand, right on the edge of the alfalfa field. Gave me a pretty tight quartering 2 shot, but stood there just as calm as could be, licking the branch, and took my opportunity. And he went down quick and hard, and we gave him a couple hours and got out. And then my dad came in with me, and we actually bumped him. He was laying right where we left him when I walked out 2 hours prior, and he got up and went crashing through the hedgerow. I mean, he was really hurting. He got out into the alfalfa field and crossed into another hedgerow. All in all, he from bed to where we found him, he only went another 50 yards.
Yeah, he was hurting if he
kinda
let you
wild
get that
part.
close.
Yeah, he didn't get up. I was probably 15, 20 feet from him.
Wow.
Jumped up. It was this like really tall reed grass, kind of thin, wispy, swamp grass down in this creek bed. And I knew he had been laying in there. I really expected to walk in and he'd just be laying there the way he went down.
Was that his bedding area, you mean?
No.
Or you just saw him
It's
go
kind
in
of a
there and you knew he
travel.
went down?
I
Yeah.
saw him go in there and I knew he went down. After I hit him, he ran
Nice.
15, 20 yards and he couldn't hardly stand. He was toppling over. I could see the hit, the impact. So I knew he was hurting. And he went in there and disappeared. But yeah, I was right on top of him. I walked by him 2 or 3 times already. Was right on top of him when he got up. And sure enough, we found him maybe 15 feet into that other hedgerow. I mean, he made it far enough to get into some cover and never got up.
Final resting place.
He was on his last legs when you.
I'm happy for you because it is rough when
Yeah,
you whack one. You had that last weekend, and then you had the opportunity today, and you went with your gut and you freaking fed one. So pretty happy for
It's
you.
in your head, you feel like you got to make up for it. when
Oh, I
you
know
hit
all
one and
about
you
being
don't
in your head.
recover it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's cool too that Jimmy D was in town and got to. You guys probably never get to, take
No.
part in the deer hunting together anymore. So
No,
that
especially
was
bow
really nice.
season.
Yeah.
Jimmy comes up to
Oh,
our
that's right,
camp
yeah,
for
you go
opening
up to the
weekend of
camp.
rifle, which is
Yep.
nice. But we have yet to put a New York buck on the ground together with the rifle. So we've
Yeah.
hunted together a few seasons now, opening weekend, and Jimmy's taking a doe. I think you're taking a couple does, Jim.
Yeah, a couple does.
So we've had our fun, but never
gonna-
a recovery. Like
I'm going to
this.
go out on a limb and say you might be good luck, Mr. Jim
I'm starting
D'Agostino.
to think that too.
Yep.
Because listen, you think about I shot that buck in PA the first year you ever came with us.
That's right.
I dropped you off, and an hour later, I whacked that deer in his bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been basically on a roll ever since then.
And Jim's been there ever since.
You've
then.
been there.
That's right.
Yep.
I've been
We
there
go-
for a lot of good Harvey recoveries.
You come up last year for the
For his vacation.
no, not even for the holiday hunt. You make the
yeah,
drive up to
yeah.
Little Iowa, and you show up, and there's just a freaking herd of wall hangers run. Now you blew it there.
Yeah, I
You
did.
made a huge
I hit
mistake.
One and didn't find him, but
Yeah.
luckily Brian was able
But he
to
chased him on to Brian.
feed one
so.
and
Yeah.
make it happen.
But he also
Well,
was
you
up
were
here
there
for
the night Big Willie whacked that buck.
Big
with the
Yeah.
ball.
ball,
Right.
his buck.
So I was gonna say,
Damn
he
near
was up
pushed
here-
it right to him. Pert near.
Yeah, you were making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich,
That's
looking
right.
out the window.
Yep.
Yep.
Said, "Get out of here! Get
Yeah.
over!" and chased him right over to me.
And then when we went down to PA the next year, and I was involved in that drive where the 4 bucks came and we killed 3 of them, 3 out of 4 that were in the bachelor group. I mean, that's pretty spectacular.
Killers kill.
Yeah, killers kill.
That's
it.
what Jimmy said to me when he got up here. He goes, I love coming up here because when we get together,
Shit happens.
shit happens.
That's right.
Does.
I'm gonna make a shirt that says
It's
that.
a rod.
Yeah. You whack, I pack.
That's it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, well, Donnie, congratulations, man, on an awesome buck. That was beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, he's a stud. for
So
sure.
glad you got him, and I admire your commitment to that, because last night you were like, oh, I'd love to stay, guys. I'm going home. I'm hunting it. I mean, you were on it, so paid off, man.
It's hard to leave a deer camp.
Oh,
We
yes,
all
it
know
is.
that.
Yep.
It's hard to walk away from that, but something said to me, I had that feeling.
Yeah.
You know, you got to chase it.
Well, you're a wise man, because you probably would not have been in your stand at daylight had you stayed here.
No.
No.
I was.
Nope, I probably wouldn't have.
Jimmy started mixing everybody some. I don't even know what the heck you were. Some seltzer drink.
Seltzer and rum with lime juice.
that was-
Honestly, he's going to
Oh,
hear
I've had
this. Not that good.
Mm.
I'm not a rum guy.
Last night you said you liked it. You're like, this is
Yeah,
pretty good.
because,
But then you about passed out and we had to end the podcast.
I was sitting next to that freaking stove cooking me from the inside out.
We had the fan.
All we
blowing the
did was
wrong
eat
direction.
freaking cured meats for dinner last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the freaking pot roast.
Yeah.
So Donnie, we were
Crock-pot
also talking about like where does this buck rank in your resume now? Is this
For me?
Yeah, is this
he's
like
by far the second biggest buck I've
second biggest?
Second,
buck?
nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I shot a real beauty with the bow in 2014, and he's the one I got hanging on the wall down at
That's
Deer.
10 years ago.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
On what date?
Yeah,
10's my lucky number.
10's my lucky number.
October
You want me to break it
16th, let me
down?
tell you
Every
the
10
exact
years
day.
I get a big buck.
See that?
Yep.
Every 10 years, Donnie gets a big buck.
Yeah.
That's
You
right.
look at my wall, and I figured it out, Don, and almost every 10 years I was getting a big buck, that like record book buck.
Well, that's what happens when you shoot nothing but 9-year-old deer.
Yeah.
9-year-olds.
I'm holding out
Divided
for
by
those 9.5
divided by
year-olds. Yeah.
3.
So I figure I got to let them go, and
Mhm.
after 9 years, I'm willing.
I don't let anything go. Just every once in a while, a big one comes by.
Yeah. So you think he was set up in a thermal hub? We're real big on thermal hubs.
I'm
Oh,
thinking.
no doubt. No
Thermal
doubt.
hub.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Definitely
All-
thermal hub.
Yep. all the thermals were in that hub.
No, I got to. It was nice to be able to get down there and actually walk that piece of property and and he's got a hell of a honey hole in there. It from a map it looks pretty good, but when you get in there and see the trail systems that's in there, I mean they're just tearing it up. I mean it's a hell of a spot. And
It's awesome.
Got to be in there.
definitely gonna be
gotta be
more
in there.
big bucks to kill in there in the future for sure. That's
Well-
one to hold on to.
Got to get some does out of there now, Donnie.
That's right. Level the playing field.
That's
a little
right.
bit.
Does it take some pressure off for you now, Don, and kind of helps
Oh, yeah.
helps the wife feel a little more comfortable with now that your season is kind of you're pretty much set now. You can kind of do what you want and when you want.
Yep, definitely takes the pressure off, gets the monkey off my back, and she was just throwing daggers yesterday. She said,
See,
"We're
this
not
is
gonna
what.
have to ask the Harveys to shoot a deer for us."
Oh my God!
Oh,
that
whoa.
is.
She was coming
Whoa.
in hot.
Listen,
Wow.
if she does listen to this, she needs to understand that is not healthy to put that on your man.
There's already enough pressure on us.
Especially when who she's really talking about is Big Jim, and everyone's intimidated by Big Jim because he can fix everything.
Mm-hmm.
He can fill the freezer.
Yeah.
He's smart.
Yeah.
He's not really good looking, but he could do all
You
those other
can't have it
things.
all.
Yeah,
No,
you can't have it all.
Yep.
Yeah.
no.
He just shoots big bucks every year.
He's a loud breather. He's like a nose breather.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mouth breather.
mouth. But his nose.
Yeah.
You're terrible.
Yeah.
If he was here, he'd pop you like a grape.
I'd run away from him. He wouldn't catch me. I'd run in zigzags and he'd tip over.
Like you did when you were a kid.
Yeah, I used to.
Dad, help me.
I used to run across the field, and that was my method. I would just run zigzags, and he'd be like, I'll be back. I'll be here when you come back.
Yeah.
Jimmy's funny.
I know where you sleep.
Yeah.
Jimmy's funny. He showed up for Don's recovery, and he came cocked and locked and ready to rock. Like he had his bow, he had his quiver
Well,
loaded.
yeah, that's what you left here with nothing. I'm like,
he had extra knives. Like he was ready to in case things get western, he was ready to fire.
well, yeah.
We walked into that hedgerow, man, like it was Armageddon. I mean, we crested that little knob in the hedgerow, both like ready to be attacked.
Jimmy had fire in his eyes.
Yeah.
So your wife threatened you with having another man procure her meat, or
Well, because last season, I think it was the Thanksgiving drive when Jim Riley got that monster buck.
Yeah.
You guys put a pile of does on the ground. And
Were
I
you
hadn't
with
shot
us?
anything yet. No, I
Oh.
wasn't there. I was hunting with my dad Thanksgiving, and we hadn't put any deer in the freezer in the Lucas house, so we were getting a little nervous. And Jim calls. He's like, "Hey, we got a pile of does over here. You want one?" Yeah. I said, "Yeah, I'll take a doe." I said,
I remember that.
we
Yeah.
need the venison, and I'll take it." And I get off the phone, and my wife looks at me, and she's like, "Is that okay to, like, take another man's deer?" And I was like, "I am secure enough in both my masculinity and my hunting ability to accept when I need, when my chips are down and I need to take a hand out. So I was like, I'll go take it. I'm not asking to pack it, cut it and pack it for me. I could do that. I'll go pick it up."
That's funny.
So I did, and then a couple days ago she was like, "I hope we don't have to ask Jim to shoot us a deer this year." Like, oh, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
I'll be driving around at night a little too fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the same thing today because I just texted with my wife, and it was like we were back here for lunch, and I mean I've been struggling. Like, I really haven't had the only shot opportunities I've had this year have been on young does, and I just wasn't in the time frame where I really wanted to do that. So, like, I haven't even really had a chance. And so her and I were texting, and she's like, "Just shoot a friggin' deer, would you?" And I'm like, I'm trying hard. And then,
and what also on top of that, what did your daughter say?
Oh yeah, and then Cater. So my daughter Kate, before I was dropping her off at my mother-in-law's yesterday morning, and we're driving down the road, and I'm like, in the back, look in the back of the truck. "Hey, honey," I'm like, "is Dad gonna shoot a big buck this weekend?" And she's all nonchalant. She's just like, "No." I'm like, "What do you mean no?" I was like, "Well, why not?" She's like, "Well, you can't aim good."
Oh,
and this is from my 4-year-old little princess. I'm like, "Well, that's not something nice to say." And that just was like in my head, just ringing. I'm like,
You can't aim good.
I'm going to get an opportunity, and I'm going to yite it, freaking, which I may have, but,
You showed her tonight.
The meat missile landed where I wanted it. You want to hear the story, Don?
Well, I was just going to say, both my boys came out and took one look at the truck, and my youngest goes, "Dad, you shot a big one." And that was all I needed to hear.
That's awesome.
That was it.
That's Liam.
But yeah, that's what happened with you, because it was like 10 minutes later I get your call.
Yeah. So that it was, we went back out about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and this morning we all kind of did a little bit of wandering around here to see Jimmy and Uncle Mike are on top of the hill, and it's been dead down here on our property. Like, I'm down around the cabin, it's just been dead. On cameras, sat the last couple, yesterday afternoon, this morning, like nothing. Jim was over in the bull meadow and saw some bucks, but no does. And like, we've been holding does here, so they've just clearly moved their eating somewhere else. So we went up top, I did a little still hunt up top mid-morning, and then Jimmy and Uncle Mike were up there, and they'd seen quite a bit of deer sign, and they'd seen some deer this morning and some does and a couple little bucks up there. And there's a lot of acorns up top. So
airdrop.
There's a lot of acorns up top. So it seems like they're now, focused on eating acorns, which makes sense. So Dad and I went up top this afternoon, and I wasn't quite sure exactly where I was going to sit. Jimmy had found some really, really hot sign. We call it the front of the hill. So kind of like right towards the crest, right before it drops off. Jimmy's got a stand there that is old, been there for years and not really safe to climb. So he told me, he's like, that's an area that's the best sign that he saw this morning was in that area. So I walked over there with I bought a new portable this week from the Huntworks. For my saddle hunting setup, when you're sitting, God, they're so hard working. Like, they never stop. You just got to support people like that. So I bought a M7 Millennium Micro Light, I think they call it. It's a very, very lightweight portable tree stand with a small platform, but it's got the nice Millennium seat. And the saddle platform I use is just it's a decent platform. It's rock solid, but it's small. And when you stand for 4 or 5 hours, it's like your feet get, it's just uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this new stand, never used it. So I got that on my back. I got my climbing sticks, all my gear, and I'm just like wandering around. Like Jimmy told me where the sign was. I went there. I found some good buck rubs. It was, a nice kind of transition in the woods where you've got some open hardwoods, and then it's some obvious transition with some beech brush and stuff like that. And I just wasn't like seeing feeding sign. I was really hoping to get into an area where it looked like the does might be spending time.
Let's be honest. You were in a panic.
I was in a
We were
panic.
standing there celebrating Donnie's kill. Donnie was cleaning his deer.
I called.
And you called Jim while we're standing there.
As you found Don's
true.
deer.
Yep.
And but I thought that there was going to be food in that area, and I didn't see, there was no acorns. And so there was a phenomenal rub line. There were some good rubs right through there, but
some good scrapes leading to
I had not been seeing deer, and I really didn't care if I shot a buck or not. I just wanted to see deer, and I would have really actually liked to have shot a doe if I had an opportunity. That's kind of what I was out for, either big buck or a doe. And I just want to see some deer because I haven't been seeing deer. So I'm like sitting there just stewing. And so I called Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, I don't really care what you do. He's like, that's the best sign I seen on the hill today. And I'm like, all right. So, I mean, it was like another like 35, 40 minutes. I basically and I called Dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what
I
do you
said
think?
Move uphill a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a travel corridor.
Yeah. And so I did. I went north a little from Jimmy's stand, went north a little and up. And then I'm just like looking around trying to find a good tree to get in. And there wasn't, most of the trees are all pole trees, like not a lot of limbs, no trees that had stuff next to it to kind of break you up. So there was this one spot where there was I think it's a maple.
Maple, yeah.
A pretty straight, tall maple, but it had a couple smaller trees around it, not like right next to it, but within a few feet, and there was some grapevines hanging. So it was some good breakup.
Great spot.
But it was kind of thick there, so there wasn't a ton of like good shooting lanes, and I didn't have any saw or anything to trim lanes. So I stood there for like 10, 15 minutes just looking around. I'm like, it's 3 o'clock. I'm like, I got to pick a tree and get in it. So I climb up that tree, get set up, and seeing nothing. So for almost 2 hours, I mean, I sat there, and it was beautiful, quiet, wind was consistent, did some calling sequences, grunt, rattle, nothing. And it was just about 5 o'clock, and I'd heard some crunching in the leaves coming from back towards Dad. So I guess that'd be southwest from me.
Yep.
And, I'd stood up, and I had done a good rattling. It was very calm. I did a good loud rattling sequence and some grunts. Don't know if this buck heard that or not, but he was on a beeline. I had put when I stood up, I put a couple grunts out, and he was just coming right straight to my tree. So I just see it's a decent buck. I put my, flip the seat up, clip on, and I'm like, I'm thinking I'm going to range him. And then I just see he's coming right to me. I'm like, it's going to be an under 20-yard shot. So he ends up coming, and I probably could have waited a little bit, but I wanted to draw before he got too close because it was so quiet. So I drew, and I got drawn on full draw, and he's kind of coming. He's almost parallel with me. And I'm like, I mean, I could let him keep going, but it's like I could hammer him right there. So I put it mid-mass, and
what was it like? You said like 10
it was 13 yards.
13 yards.
Yeah. And
Nice.
yeah, and I just blew right through him. Was right in the middle of his body.
12 ringed him.
Yeah, and he just like every time, and I was telling you guys afterwards, like. And I took a video of him after I shot. I saw where the arrow went. I saw how he responded immediately, and I was like, well, he's done. So I whipped my phone out, and I recorded it. And he took like maybe 10 or 15 bounds, and he stopped, and he looked back where he came from. And then all of a sudden he like took off running downhill, and then he like stopped, and his tail just started like, panic twitching. And
Flicking.
oh yeah, and then he walked 15 yards.
Not even that.
And laid down, and he was done. It was amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you got it all on video. It was
all on video.
unbelievable.
Double long. It was beautiful. And so it ends up being it was the buck that we had been getting. It's the most resident buck we've been getting pictures of here at camp. down on.
And our biggest buck that we've been getting on a regular bait. There's one bigger, I think, but
Yep. But we haven't really seen much of him
lately.
Yeah, like mid-October we were getting pictures of him, but so yeah, this deer's, and he is almost, it's got to be offspring of that buck there that we called Tex, that was very, very resident here 2 years ago.
Yep.
And we all were seeing him throughout this time of year, right around the rut. Was that? It might have been longer than that. Might have been 3 years ago. That's a handful of years ago.
Yeah, it was. I think 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And he died on, I don't know if he got hit by a car or what, but we found him down in the pines.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike had a camera down there, and he went down to check
he was
the camera.
dead in the scrape.
There's a scrape there, and he laid dead in the scrape. And, Mike and I pulled him out of there and then cut his head off, and we got the Euro mount here.
Yeah.
But
identical. Like I'm looking here,
I mean,
his brow tines aren't
image.
real tall, but he's got just the 3 points on the right. And,
just a twin, except this one, Tex was like a year older. So
yeah,
you would name this one T2, Tex 2. And so the interesting thing, Don, is that I had a buck come cruising. I was, I don't know, 300-400 yards southwest of Billy, and I had a buck cruising, and he looped behind me. He was a nice 8-point, but the wind was right out of the west, and he ended up he made a loop around and came right behind me, and he was like at 40 yards, and then he winded me, so he took off and headed down, that area towards Billy, but a little bit south of Billy. And so then I'm sitting there, and I hear sounded like crashing off to the north of me, and so I get my bow and I get ready, and there's this doe comes through, and there's a buck, and he's a shooter. I mean, he was a nice buck, maybe 8-pointer. And he's on her, and then I'm getting my grunt call out, and I'm going to try and turn him back. And then I look, and there's another buck standing there, and he was a nice buck, but he was moving slower. I think he was a little bit smaller than the first one. So I start grunting, trying to bring him back, and I'm watching him as he's walking off, and I don't know, he's 100, 120 yards away. I'm catching glimpses of him going through the hardwoods, and I look back to where he came from, and there's a bigger one standing there. And
covered up the deer.
Yeah, so it was 3 bucks on that doe, and he was like lingering. He wasn't real hot on that doe, and he was the biggest of the 3 bucks. So I'm like, that doe's not really hot yet. The other 2 are a little bit, probably a year and a half. They were decent 8s. And so I'm thinking they're just chasing her around, and she's nowhere near as ready, or this big one would be in on it. And so he just kind of meandered off the same way. So I'm throwing grunts out, trying to turn him back, and he doesn't come back. He just, completely, all 3 of those bucks, I know they heard me, they completely ignored, kept moving off that way. And then 10 minutes later, I catch movement over to the north again, and here comes an even bigger buck, and he's coming on a string right to me. So I get up, I get my bow ready, I clip on. He's at 40 yards, coming straight on. And then he stops, and he turns, and he's looking not at me, but kind of behind me. I'm like, what is he doing? And then I'm like, is there something else coming? Then I hear grunting right behind me. And I turn around, and I look over my shoulder in the tree, and here's this big 7. And I recognize him right away, the big 7 that we'd had down here. And he's coming in. So I think those bucks heard all the grunting. And they were coming, and they were bigger than any of the other 3 I had just seen, or the first one I saw. And so then they're walking. The one buck just stayed there, and the big 7 approached them, and both of them had their ears laid right back. I'm like, and they're all stiff, and I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna. And I got no shot because the way the big 7 came in behind me, it's all beech brush and pine limbs there. I'm in a pine tree, and so I'm like, well, at least I'm gonna see a good fight. But then they square up, and then the other buck, which was, I think, a little smaller, but a hell of a nice buck, he just sidesteps and walks past that big buck, the big 7, and then he starts going down towards Billy, and he hooks a little bit to the north. He's just meandering, and then the big 7 turns and starts following him. And so I was going to try and run them back again, and then I'm looking, and they're going into this draw, and that draw leads right down to where I believe Billy is. Like if they follow that draw to go down the hill, I'm like, they're going to go right by Billy, you know. So I'm like, I'm going to let them go, see what happens. So I'm watching them, and I could tell they walked off. I lost sight of them. I don't know. It wasn't 3-4 minutes, and I felt my phone buzz, and I look at it, and I had a missed call from Billy. I'm like, I wonder if he saw him or something happened, you know. So I called Billy back. He goes, he's down. I got him. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
That's awesome.
Oh, It was awesome. I was like, I think I was as happy as Billy was. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, you were pretty fired up.
Oh, my
It's
God.
amazing how the grunt tube paid off all week long, all
Yeah.
weekend long.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
They were
really
boisterous.
responsive.
Yeah.
Really responsive.
No, the 6 bucks I saw, 3 of them were grunting.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so it was like it was just like I didn't even have to get a deer. I had such a show. It was just like it's been years since I had a sit like that. You know, it was just like, it was
You had the
hot.
best seat in the house.
Yeah. And then they walked down to Billy and he whacks them. So, I mean, it couldn't have worked out better. It was a beautiful shot and no tracking. The deer was right there.
Buck died in a beautiful area. It
Yeah.
was,
Gorgeous.
we had a
spot.
hell of a moment up there. Just
It was
enjoying
cool.
that.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you guys got over there before it got dark
the
out.
picture you sent with that view, yeah,
Yeah.
the view looking over
Yeah.
that other hill. That
Right
was
up on the
beautiful.
mountaintop. It was really something.
Yeah, like if it was earlier, you wouldn't see that backdrop of the mountain because the sun would be,
blocking that.
Blocking
But, I
out
mean, it was, the
everything,
sun
but-
was just going. It was beautiful.
Yep.
Great moment. It was a good day, good afternoon. That shows how quick things can change. You know, when you're just like it happens that fast.
It does. Yeah, it's this archery is tough, man, because especially when I haven't had a buck tag in the rut the last couple of years because I shot him early. And like this is a very frustrating and difficult time of year to hunt. And when you're not out there and you're just watching from afar, you just don't really care because it's not, you're not worried about it. But when you're out there and this is like the time that you wait for all year and nothing is happening, it is incredibly frustrating. But it never ceases to amaze me. It can change that fast.
Yeah, and
where
it's like
nothing is happening and like that, it can like literally that all happened to me within that deer. It took that deer a minute and a half to die, and that all happened probably in the 3-minute window, if that.
Yeah.
Not even, because it probably took him 25, 30 seconds to get to me.
Yeah.
From when I first seen him to me letting an arrow fly was probably 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And it all happens like that, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, like all the things that were stressing me out.
Yeah.
So it's gone.
Well, and the rut is hard, and you hear people talk about it because you're either in it or you're not. You know, like I'm trying to think if I even
And if I
saw
would
a
have
deer
set up,
yesterday.
if I would have set up the 100 yards south of me where I was originally planning to set up,
Yep.
I wouldn't have. Which did he come to me because of me calling?
That's kind of his travel route, I think.
There was that line of buck rubs there, and this time of year, I was listening to a podcast the other day with I think it was Wired to Hunt, and it was Mark and what's his name, Tony Peterson, and they were talking. Tony was saying that he doesn't like to focus too much on scrapes at this point because he feels that they're kind of done using scrapes to communicate and chat. Like they're just covering ground.
Right.
So he said on there that he does focus more towards rub lines this time of year because that gives you a direction of travel that typically you go, gun season starts in a couple weeks and you go out here in the hardwoods and you see just a stand back and you can look 150 yards and you see a line of buck rubs. Like we all get excited about that, but the reality is that sign was either made in mid-October now,
right,
in early November, and most of it's done at night, but it does give you a direction of travel.
Yeah.
So those bucks, obviously, and then we lined that up. If you look at where I shot that deer, and then you come down, the hill is wicked steep there from where I killed him down to our property. But you look at where we have been consistently getting pictures of him on our property, the scrapes, rubs, everything that's like signpost stuff.
Yeah.
It all lines up. So he, whether he
was heading down, he was going.
He
down.
was coming down, and last night he came into Jimmy in the bull meadow. It was right before the last light, so it was like 6:15.
Yeah.
So
Or a
he
little before that,
whether he was up above the camper all day on the side hill and then came down,
or he was on
or
top.
he was on top just like he was today and came up and over. Who knows?
Right.
We'll never know because we'll never get to see how he
But
handles
man,
that stuff
you
again.
picked the right spot. That was a great spot.
It's amazing.
And it's like when we were talking, I'm like, no, I wouldn't set up right at the crest. I'd come back uphill a little bit because I know I've seen them. They run right down through there, and sure enough, that was his travel. And that I walked that logging. There's an old logging road that goes down through there, and I walked that to come down to you, and there was scrapes all
Jimmy
down
said.
through there.
Yeah.
So it was, it was a.
Yeah, if I learned anything today, it's, you're gonna get frustrated. I'm gonna get frustrated. I could sit here and say, oh, everybody just have fun and go shoot deer. I said that 2 months ago, sitting on this podcast.
Yeah.
But the reality is, we're all passionate about this. You want to have stuff standing in front of you, but listen to your friends, listen to your support group that you're talking to, and if somebody tells you confidently, this is the best sign I've seen, you need to be in this area, listen to that, because you're going to get in your own head. And I'm glad I just stood there and just took in that area for 45 minutes to an hour before I picked a tree.
Yeah, I couldn't
to get
believe
into.
it when you called me, or did I call you? No, you called me. I don't know. We talked. I think you called me, or I guess I don't know.
Called you, yes.
And I couldn't believe you weren't set up.
Yeah.
And then
and I was another 30 minutes after I talked to you before I was set up, but take your time.
Right. And you picked a great spot, man. You had it. You had him right there, and then it was so cool that I got to see him like minutes before, because I'm trying to think if I don't think I've seen him other than on picture. Like I haven't had an encounter with him. So it was great I'm just tickled to death that you got him, and it was awesome to have that encounter. Yeah, it was a fun hunt.
Yep.
Good stuff.
It's
November.
So we got a week and a half until gun season starts, and we're off to the races.
Jimmy, how was your?
We got one buck tag between us.
That's right. Big Willie's got a tag out here.
Yeah. I'll
be shooting the crotch horn.
Hey. Save that buck tag. You're gonna want that thing.
Yeah. I'll the best is, we got a good period like between now and like Veterans Day has always been super good to me,
Yep.
And I'm trying to think when you were up here last year, Jim, when I shot that big one. That was somewhere around
It was on November 4th.
4th, yeah. So, but yeah. So and we were talking, Don, that like Jim brings us the luck, that's for sure. And but I mean, what a great little rut vacation you had to run up here to New York, and
Unbelievable.
You got to be with Donnie. You nailed one. I mean, you had just an incredible hunt of a lifetime.
Couldn't have drew it up any nicer. Yeah.
Oh my God.
To be on 2 awesome recoveries within a few hours of each other.
You got the stressful part out of the way, like
I
in
got
the first
to just have
hour.
fun the rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Where else do you get to go out of state, put your hand on 3 bucks in 3 days, and go home with one of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good
pretty
point.
Cool.
Wild.
Pretty cool. Feeling very lucky. That's for sure.
Awesome.
Well, let's wrap this thing up. We're at 50
Don,
minutes.
Thanks for breaking away to jump on with us. We wanted to hear your story and congratulate you, and so glad that
I'm just glad I had a story to share.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah, great buck, buddy. Great buck.
Thank you.
Keep feeding them.
In the meantime,
have a good night, guys. Have a beer for me.
You too.
We'll just keep feeding them.
Thanks, Don.
All right, thanks,
See ya.
everybody.